In 2018, the world was introduced to a shy 13-year-old girl from England named Courtney Hadwin. At first glance, she looked nervous, quiet, and completely overwhelmed by the giant stage of America's Got Talent. When the judges tried speaking to her before her audition, she could barely answer above a whisper. She admitted she struggled with severe stage fright, and the audience expected another nervous young contestant trying to survive a high-pressure moment. But everything changed the instant the music started. Courtney launched into Hard to Handle with an energy nobody expected. The timid teenager suddenly transformed into a fierce rock and soul performer with explosive vocals, wild movements, and a stage presence far beyond her years. The judges sat stunned. Cowell could barely hide his shock, while Howie Mandel compared her to Janis Joplin. The audience erupted into applause as Courtney dropped to her knees mid-performance, fully immersed in the song. Before the cheers even settled, Mandel hit the golden buzzer, sending her straight to the live shows. Overnight, Courtney Hadwin became one of the biggest sensations on the internet. Her audition quickly spread across social media, collecting hundreds of millions of views and turning her from an unknown teenager into a global phenomenon. Millions of viewers believed they were watching the birth of the next great rock singer. Throughout the competition, Courtney continued delivering unforgettable performances. She sang classics from legends like James Brown and Janis Joplin, bringing old-school soul and rock music to a modern television audience. While many contestants her age leaned toward polished pop songs, Courtney stood out because of her rawness. Her performances felt chaotic, emotional, and unpredictable in a way that reminded people of classic rock stars from decades earlier. The judges praised her repeatedly. Cowell described her as raw and messy in the best possible way, explaining that she transformed completely the moment she stepped onto the stage. Heidi Klum admired how she brought gritty rock and roll energy to the competition instead of following modern pop trends. Fans online quickly declared her the favorite to win the season. So when the finale arrived, almost nobody expected what happened next. Despite dominating headlines and social media throughout the competition, Courtney finished in 6th place. The winner of the season was Shin Lim, whose close-up magic performances had also captivated audiences. Many viewers were shocked that Courtney did not even reach the top 5. Social media exploded with disbelief as fans argued she had been the standout act of the season. However, losing the competition was only the beginning of a far more difficult journey. After the show ended, Cowell helped secure Courtney a recording contract with Arista Records in partnership with Psycho Music. For most young singers, this would have been the dream outcome. Courtney was only 14 years old and suddenly had access to major producers, songwriting camps, and the possibility of a global music career. At first, everything seemed perfect. Cowell publicly praised her talent and said he would never forget her audition. Courtney herself expressed excitement about finally beginning her professional music career. But behind the scenes, the situation quickly became unstable. Around the same time Courtney signed her deal, Psycho Music began collapsing as a company. Internal restructuring and industry changes left many artists without support. The label that was supposed to launch her career effectively fell apart before it ever truly started. Instead of entering the music industry with a strong team behind her, Courtney suddenly found herself stuck in uncertainty. Years later, she admitted that the experience was devastating. Rather than feeling guided and protected, she constantly felt pressure to prove herself all over again. The major opportunity that seemed guaranteed to transform her life instead became one of the hardest periods she had ever experienced. Another major problem soon emerged. The industry did not really understand who Courtney Hadwin was as an artist. The music executives and songwriters surrounding her pushed her toward polished commercial pop music. Courtney later revealed she was often placed in songwriting sessions where producers handed her songs that sounded like generic radio pop tracks. She specifically said the material felt more suited to artists like Ariana Grande than to her own musical identity. But Courtney's love for music had never come from mainstream pop. She grew up obsessed with soul, blues, and classic rock. She studied old black and white videos of performers like Tina Turner, Etta James, Aretha Franklin, and James Brown. Those artists inspired the gritty, emotional style that made her famous in the first place. The challenge was figuring out how to modernize that sound without losing its authenticity. For years, Courtney struggled creatively because she felt caught between the artist she truly was and the artist the industry wanted her to become. Eventually, things began to improve when she connected with producer Kevin Bowe. Unlike many others, Bowe understood her love for soul and blues music. Instead of forcing songs onto her, he encouraged her to participate in the writing process and express her real emotions through music. This became a turning point in Courtney's life. She admitted that songwriting did not initially come naturally to her. At first, she only cared about performing live. But over time, writing became deeply personal and therapeutic. Through songwriting, she found a way to process the overwhelming experiences she had faced since becoming famous as a teenager. While Courtney was trying to rebuild herself artistically, another painful battle was happening online. Internet users began accusing her of being fake. After her AGT audition aired, people discovered that she had previously appeared on The Voice Kids UK in 2017. Critics compared her confident performances on that show to the nervous teenager scene before her AGT audition. Many accused her of exaggerating her shyness for dramatic effect. The accusation spread rapidly across social media. Strangers called her dishonest and manipulative, insisting that her stage fright had been part of an act designed to create a more emotional television moment. What many critics ignored, however, was that AGT never prohibited contestants from having previous performance experience. Courtney had broken no rules. In reality, her nervousness before performances was genuine. Like many performers, she transformed once the music began. Still, the internet backlash became relentless. Even worse, the bullying extended into her personal life. Courtney reportedly faced cruel treatment from classmates at school after becoming famous. Some mocked her voice, while others taunted her for the attention she received online. Her parents had reportedly worried from the beginning that fame would expose her to even more bullying, but there was little they could do to shield her from it. Despite everything, Courtney handled the criticism with remarkable maturity. She publicly thanked fans who supported her and explained that she tried to focus on positivity rather than hateful comments. Yet, privately, the pressure took a heavy emotional toll. Between 2019 and 2022, Courtney largely disappeared from the spotlight. To fans, it seemed as if she had vanished entirely. But in reality, she was fighting through a deeply difficult chapter of her life. The momentum from AGT had faded. The record label situation collapsed. The songwriting camps produced music that did not feel authentic. Courtney spent those years trying to rediscover herself while carrying the enormous pressure of living up to one of the most viral auditions in television history. She later admitted that child stardom came with challenges she never could have anticipated at 13 years old. Instead of enjoying a normal teenage life, she spent her adolescence navigating public scrutiny, industry expectations, and identity struggles. Songwriting eventually became her emotional outlet. She described her debut album as a diary documenting everything she experienced after fame arrived. The songs focused less on celebrity and more on loneliness, pressure, self-doubt, and the struggle to grow up while millions of people watched. In September 2025, after years of setbacks, Courtney finally released her debut album, Little Miss Jagged. The project represented nearly a decade of emotional growth and artistic rediscovery. One of the album's most personal songs was You Only Love Me When I Lie. The track explored her frustration with being trapped by the public image created during AGT. Courtney explained that many fans still wanted her to remain the shy 13-year-old girl they first saw on television. Whenever she tried to evolve, critics attacked her for changing. The song became her response to that pressure. It addressed the painful reality of pretending to be someone else because people refused to accept who you have become. By this point, Courtney was no longer a child. She wanted to present herself as a young woman and an independent artist. However, many fans struggled to accept that transformation. That conflict became painfully visible after performance at Festival Vila in Portugal in 2025. Courtney appeared on stage wearing a bold outfit that reflected her new artistic identity. Instead of celebrating her confidence and growth, many online commenters reacted harshly. She reportedly received hundreds of mocking messages criticizing her appearance and accusing her of seeking attention. For Courtney, the backlash confirmed everything she had been writing about. People were comfortable loving the innocent teenage girl from AGT, but many resisted the idea of her growing up and changing naturally. Even after surviving industry collapse, online hate, bullying, and years of uncertainty, Courtney continued pushing forward creatively. She eventually gained full control over her music and described Little Miss Jagged as the most honest work she had ever created. Every song reflected a different part of her journey, from frightened teenager to self-aware young woman. Today, Courtney Hadwin's story stands as more than just a tale about a viral audition. It is a story about the darker side of sudden fame, especially for young performers. The world celebrated her extraordinary talent almost instantly, but the pressure that followed nearly crushed her. She faced impossible expectations from fans, harsh criticism online, instability in the music industry, and emotional difficulty of growing up in front of millions of strangers. Yet despite all of it, she refused to give up on music or herself. Her journey shows how difficult the transition from child star to adult artist can be. Audiences often freeze young celebrities in time, expecting them to remain forever connected to the moment that first made them famous. Courtney spent years fighting against that image while